Welcome to the Week 5 recap where we have 4 games on tap, and the first one we're going to head to is at Camp Randall with Wisconsin hosting North Carolina. Wisconsin is coming off a big win over Michigan recently, and North Carolina still has Heisman Trophy contender Drake May trying to right the ship and hopefully lead this team. After a couple of pedestrian games, we'll see if Drake May can reclaim his spot in the Heisman race and get this team back off to a good start. We pick up in the second quarter with UNC and Wisconsin tied at 3. 4th and 1, big conversion time for UNC. Let's see if they can get it on a read option. Drake May is able to power his way forward, and we've seen him running the ball a lot more this season and really having to be all parts of the offense for UNC. Later in that drive, 1st and goal, same kind of look. They're just going to give it to him there, and UNC gets in the end zone with Drake May, and they are up 10-3 early on in this one. Another story here was Tanner Mordecai was not as sharp as you probably would have liked. Here's a 3rd and long, down 10-3. And just has a guy open, but is not able to hit him as he starts 1 of 5. Then on the next drive, they kind of keep it simple and let's start running the ball with Braylon Allen down by a score, really trying to hurt UNC where they would not be able to be physical enough to stop that run game at a lot of points. Then on a 3rd and 2 with a 2-back look, Tanner Mordecai still down by 7, fakes the handoff, able to dish it off, and he stops short for Braylon Allen on 4th and inches. And this is a big moment where Wisconsin had a chance. And they go for it and push it up the middle and just doing what they need to do. That's Cade Yakimelli for 7 yards and a 1st and goal for Wisconsin. Then on the following play on 1st and goal, able to find his man and ties this thing up with Skylar Bell to make it 10-10. After a stop for Wisconsin, Tanner Mordecai and company would have a 1st down loss that would put them in 2nd and 18, but a big moment for him where he's able to get this ball out deep and with nobody around his receiver, he's able to keep on running all the way to the end zone, put themselves up 17-10 right off the back of Bryson Green and an 83-yard touchdown reception, put Wisconsin in a spot where they could easily be up 17-10 going into halftime. But, that still left some time for UNC in 7 seconds here. 1st down for Drake May, and he's able to find a big ball of his own, and he finds his man who dashes all the way to the end zone, and that's Tez Walker for 62 yards. And as they share big blows at this point, UNC and Wisconsin would be tied 17-17 at the half, leading to a pretty entertaining game where you would have thought, based on their styles, that this may not be the recipe for success for both of them, but they both seem fine airing it out, and the defenses are having trouble with both of these pretty potent offenses. Tanner Mordecai back out with the offense after ending the last drive with a big deep ball. He's going to be looking for another one here as he throws this one deep and towards the goal line, but this one is intercepted, and that confidence does not pay off as it gives the ball back to UNC, but Wisconsin would be able to get the ball back pretty quickly in the 3rd quarter, and this would be that read option look for Tanner Mordecai himself, does a little Drake May impression, and puts Wisconsin up 24-17. Another quick stop on UNC, who had quite a few 3-and-outs. Tanner Mordecai feeling good again, but again, right as he's starting to get some momentum, UNC's defense is able to make a play, and that's a pick 6 for UNC, and it's 24-24 now, midway through the 3rd quarter, and the fireworks keep on a-coming. After a stop for the UNC defense finally, Drake May and company on a 3rd down, looks like they don't have a conversion, but an offsides penalty is going to give this UNC offense some more life now, and they'll have a chance. 1st and goal, gonna keep it simple. Let's hand the ball off to Amarion Hampton. That's 4 yards and a score, and puts UNC up at 31-24 heading into the 4th quarter between these two teams, which has been a great game so far, and I think a kind of a proven concept that this North Carolina team can hang with anybody. They just find a way, and their defense is making more plays than you would imagine. And now it's time to see if this Wisconsin offense can strike again with the help of their home crowd. And they're under 7 minutes to go, trying to make a play here on 3rd down, and Cade Yakimelli is brought down. And Wisconsin, with a little over 6 to go, says let's go for it on a 4th down. Tanner Mordecai scanning, and they are stopped short at the 1-yard line, and gives UNC an opportunity to run some clock, which they do before having to punt the ball back to Wisconsin now. Wisconsin still down by 7. Mordecai on the drop back, 3rd and 12. Looking for a man, he overthrows an open man. It has definitely been a day of highs and lows for Mordecai, and that brought up a 4th and 12, and Wisconsin this time is just going to opt for the field goal with 2:45 to go at this point. There's going to be the snap is up, the kick is up, and it is going to be good, and Wisconsin will be down 31-27, going to need a stop on UNC if they want to get the ball back and a chance to win. May is in the shotgun with British Brooks in the backfield, and he'll get the carry, and he rushes towards that first down marker, and now you have 2:18 to play, no timeouts for Wisconsin. UNC in total control here, one more conversion, and they put the game away. And that kind of run is going to be what puts this game away for them. Amarion Hampton's 8-yard rush gives UNC the 31-27 victory, and despite this not being a conference game, incredibly impressive for UNC to do a lot of damage on the ground and able to beat a good Wisconsin team that's proven themselves. And I think North Carolina has been able to provide themselves a little more legitimacy as well. They're still 2-1 in SEC play. They're not out of it in the SEC, and I think they're still going to be a thorn in the side and going to give some teams a lot of trouble with how good their offense is. Next game we're headed to is Notre Dame and Purdue at Ross-Ade Stadium. Notre Dame up to number 5 in the country, but they have not faced a test like Purdue has worked their way up to number 20 in the country, which is incredibly impressive considering how good they were last year and very solid around Aiden O'Connell and a new coach now in Ryan Walters. We're going to take this one to Notre Dame down 7 early in the first quarter, and Sam Hartman able to take this one himself and tie the game up at 7 early on in the first. Notre Dame starts to pour it on though, getting some momentum. Here they're up 2 scores, 21-7, and he finds his target Rico Flores on this play for an easy slant route. Then on 3rd and inches, still up 21-7, 4 minutes to go in the first half, and he finds that man again, Rico Flores. As you can tell, their connection is pretty strong. And then to finish off the drive, Chris Tyree finds the end zone for a 28-7 lead. Don't count out Hudson Card and Purdue though, they still have a minute and 10 seconds before the half is over, and they're able to get a nice run into the end zone from Dylan Downing from 3 yards out to cut this to a 28-14 lead. After a safety, Purdue has this as a 12-point game, but they are not able to defend against that halfback toss to Chris Tyree, and that gives them a 35-16 lead. Purdue answers with a field goal, but they're not cutting enough in a lead as Notre Dame has another opportunity to Drayden Greathouse for a 9-yard touchdown reception, and that would be enough there as Sam Hartman had a really nice day. And I think after seeing that, we can see this Notre Dame offense is incredibly potent and dangerous. And I think their defense did a good job as well. It seemed like they were holding Purdue to non-touchdowns and some field goals along the way and just did not give Purdue enough room to make up a lot of ground. So good win for Notre Dame, and they'll maintain their spot in the top 5 as we continue on. And now, one of the highlight games of the week. Caleb Williams and Bo Nix squaring off at Autzen Stadium where USC visits Oregon in a matchup where Oregon is still undefeated, but USC has taken a Pac-12 loss already and they need to go and give one to Oregon if they want to stay in the Pac-12 race. This one, we're midway through the first quarter, Oregon in a pistol set that they used quite a bit in this game, and they're going to be able to use an outside run to Bucky Irving to be able to get a 7-0 lead early on in this one. Then, we're here in the second quarter, 5:55 to go, 2nd and goal, pistol formation, throws the ball out to his friend Bucky Irving, and he's got 2 touchdowns for Oregon, and they are up 14-0 early, and USC is in a little bit of a hole, and they did not look as smooth as you would like a USC offense to look. And on that ensuing drive, Caleb Williams throws an interception to the sideline, and it looked like a danger zone for USC at this point, where they're even going to give a competitive game to Oregon. But after a nice long run from Austin Jones and Marshawn Lloyd, they were able to get this to a 14-14 game, and Oregon is still driving in the third quarter now. Pistol formation, nice easy pitch and catch to Troy Franklin from 13 yards out, and Oregon is up 21-14 at this point. Oregon down in the red zone again, trying to put one away, looking for his man. 28-14 Oregon right before the third quarter expires, and Oregon now has a 2-score lead heading to the fourth. Does USC have anything in them? Let's see that offense again now, see if they've got it straightened out. Caleb Williams on a 3rd and 6, looks around and fires a dot to Kyron Hudson right down to the 2-yard line. What a wonderful throw to give his team a chance in a 1st and goal at this point. Caleb Williams drops back, finds his man, 28-21 after the reception from Brendan Rice, looking like his dad, and giving USC a chance at this point. Now with 6 minutes and 20 seconds to go, a 3rd and 11 from that pistol formation for Oregon. Can USC get this stop? Bo Nix looks, finds his man, but he goes out of bounds 3 yards short of the first down marker, but no problem for Oregon. They're going for it on 4th and 3, putting a man in motion. Let's just hand this off and get the first down, which they do. He gets that first down yardage and more. Noah Whittington for 19 yards, Oregon up 28-21. Couldn't move the ball any further, but they're going to go for a field goal now. 4th and 15. Not a lot of time left for USC, but they still have a chance as this is only a 10-point game, but they're going to need some quick scores. USC does work quick, gets down in the red zone with about 3.5 to go. Nice, beautiful scramble and push off at the end for Caleb Williams, and he puts this team within striking range now. It's 31-28. Over 2 minutes to go for Oregon. It's a 3rd and 5. USC desperately needing this stop, and they are able to get their hands on a ball from Bo Nix, but Prophet Brown can't bring it down, but knocks it down to give USC the offense back. In a minute and 30 seconds to go, 2nd and 10. Caleb Williams finds his man out of the backfield. He pushes him off, and he fights all the way forward, and that is Marshawn Lloyd just coming up with a huge run after catch to give USC's offense a chance, who's already in field goal range. 3rd and 10, minute and 10 seconds to go. Finds his man again, gives another push off, and just running hard there, and this time it's Kyron Hudson. 2nd and goal for USC, 1 minute to go. Handoff time again. They find the end zone, and USC has their first lead of the game, 35-31. Oregon is now the ones in trouble. This is their 4th and 5 on the ensuing drive. They need it here. That ball finds some hands from USC, doesn't bring it down for an interception, but knocks it down. Game over for USC. Caleb Williams shows up with a nice game, not his best one as we saw some mistakes, but definitely showed out in a way to say, I'm still here, I'm still relevant, and USC is back in the thick of the Pac-12 race. Our last game of the day is between Missouri and Oklahoma, and quite frankly, this is going to be a pretty short update as this one lost a lot of competitiveness early. We saw Oklahoma looking to respond from that loss to Nebraska. Here they are in the second quarter, already up 35-7 at this point, Missouri needing an answer, which they were able to get a little more scrappy, staying in this game, and the thoughts of maybe a comeback happened at this point. Would they be able to form this massive comeback down 42-14, but then an off-balance pass in the end zone? Just not a good look there, and eventually that would lead to Oklahoma driving themselves and really putting this one out of reach. Some disappointed Missouri fans, along with some pretty elated Oklahoma fans at this point, as they love being able to respond from a rivalry loss with a rivalry win. And Oklahoma looked very nice in this game, and I think has asserted that they're not totally out of the Big 12 picture at this point. You see a very nice game from Dylan Gabriel, and Oklahoma comes away with a massive victory over Missouri. Now let's look at some other results here in the SEC. UCF beats South Carolina, another nice win for UCF, and they continue their nice initial Cinderella run in the SEC. Kentucky, now a Big Ten team, gives Florida a loss. Not a conference loss, but a regular non-con loss for Florida, 31-10, as they've now lost a couple in a row. We saw the North Carolina win over Wisconsin. Tennessee gives LSU their first loss of the season, 16-14. That looks like that was not a very pretty game, but now LSU enters the one-loss SEC picture. Syracuse beats Clemson, and after that huge win over Georgia early on, Clemson is taking a little bit of a step back. Then Mississippi State beats NC State 37-7. Then leads to Georgia beating Miami 41-16, and looks like Georgia has started to right the ship a little bit inside of their season, not a lot there. And then Alabama beats Ole Miss 17-10, and Alabama is in that one-loss SEC picture, as we'll take a look at the standings a little bit later on and just see how everybody's shaking out at this point in one way or another. Then we move over to the Big Ten to see how their games went this week, and it looks like Ohio State beat FCS Southeast very handily. There's that Kentucky win. Cincinnati beat Iowa 24-9. Good win for Cincinnati in one of their first games in the Big Ten. Illinois easily beating Miami of Ohio. Easily by 5 points, I guess, if you want to say. Notre Dame beating Purdue, as we saw. Michigan beating Wyoming 45-24, and they have 2 non-con wins, but still no Big Ten wins at this point, so that's an ongoing story. Louisville beats Pittsburgh in a 31-27 matchup, and then Minnesota beats Indiana 37-24, and looks like the Big Ten kind of holds serve with this week. Then in the Big 12, we saw Oklahoma's big win. Arkansas beats Texas A&M 41-23. A&M is 0-2 in conference play at this point now. Arkansas goes and gets their 3rd win in Big 12 play, so dramatically different looks at this point for those teams. Houston beats Iowa State 21-14. Baylor beats Tulane 49-21. Then Texas Tech only gets a 1-point win over Texas State, so I'm not sure how to feel about Texas Tech and their outlook on the season. And then Texas wins over Northern Illinois 55-3. They're just taking care of business and look like the class of the Big 12 at this point. TCU wins 31-9, and then Nebraska off their big win still gets a win 28-7 over Oklahoma State. Then in the Pac-12, we saw the USC and Oregon game. Arizona wins handily over an FCS team. Oregon State gives Colorado their second consecutive loss as they win 31-17. Then Boise State beats UNLV 52-10. UNLV was not able to rebound after a crushing loss last week. Then BYU wins 33-10 over Colorado State. They're off to a nice solid start. UCLA gets a nice and good win over Washington State, but a close one, 23-17. And then Hawaii beats Fresno State 20-0 in a game that does not look good for Fresno State's long-term outlook. Now let's look at the conference standings. In the SEC East, we have UCF leading the charge at 3-0 and the only undefeated conference team so far. Their only loss to Penn State. Everybody else is kind of in this 1 or 2 loss muck. Miami and Georgia Tech, though, still looking for their first conference wins in the SEC East, so we'll keep an eye on their long-term outlooks, but not looking good. And then Mississippi State, a team we are going to have to start paying attention to, as they are 3-0 and the only undefeated team in the SEC West, and how that conference looks. We now have North Carolina, LSU, and Alabama making up the one-loss team, so that looks like a very competitive top half. Then in the Pac-12, we have UCLA leading the charge at 2-0 as the only undefeated team that's played a game. You see Washington down at the 5 spot has yet to play a conference game, so they're going to be a team that should be looking very good this year, but we'll see how they're able to move up the standings later on. And then on the other side of the Pac-12 and the Pac-12 South, Utah and Arizona State are the undefeated conference teams at this point, but you have a Boise State team that seemed a little scrappy, and this division does not maybe look the strongest, but it's a division that's had it kind of working for them. Then in the Big Ten West, Michigan State and Notre Dame are the class of the conference so far as teams that have played in conference. Penn State is yet to play in conference, so we'll keep an eye on them. Then Ohio State and Wisconsin in the conference have been the class here as undefeated teams. No surprise there. Ohio State well positioned and the number 1 team in the country, as you can see, doing well. Then in the Big 12, Nebraska out to a big start at 2-0. This other side of the division does not look as strong, especially now that Nebraska has that win over Oklahoma. They're kind of in the driver's seat to maybe go and get a division crown in the first season for Matt Rule in their first season back in the Big 12 at this point. Then in the other Big 12 division, a lot of a mess, but TCU out to a 4-0 start in conference. That's going to be a hard one to overcome. Their conference games against Baylor and Texas seem to be the ones that are going to end up deciding how this division ends up going the rest of the season, but looks to be very exciting over on that side of the Big 12. Now let's talk about the Heisman race. USC running back Austin Jones is off to the lead in the Heisman race, impressing a lot of people with his ground game. Then Mayan Williams from Ohio State, leading the ground charge for Ohio State, has got himself into the action. Braylon Allen, the do-it-all running back from Wisconsin, in the 3rd spot. TCU quarterback Chandler Morris putting up amazing numbers, has got himself at the 4. And then Heisman winner Caleb Williams finds himself lurking in that 5 spot, trying to see if he can find a crease and maybe get himself back into that Heisman action and maybe winning a second straight Heisman trophy for Caleb Williams, still on the table as he's already back in the top 5, not even at the midway point of the season. And then let's talk about next week. Next video, we are going to have our game against Charlotte. Not a game that immediately strikes fear in anybody's heart, but a game that we really need to go out and get some confidence. We have not had a game where we have felt amazing about ourselves afterwards. We've always come away with, man, there's a lot more to work on, there's a lot more to do. So I'm really looking for a confidence booster, because after this, we have 7 straight SEC games and the games in our actual SEC division to follow. It is going to be a gauntlet, and I need to feel like I know how to get some good offense with this team, and I need to know where my defense is strongest and how to play that in conference play. So I'll be experimenting a little bit with some things in this last game that I'm kind of looking up as a tune-up before our season really hits overdrive, and it's going to be a make or break for us in terms of what our season looks like and what kind of aspirations we're going to end up having. Thanks as always for joining us for this Week 5 recap, and go Noles!